Hey everybody, this is Joe. Thank you for watching my Giga Texas construction update video.
Well, welcome back out to Giga Texas. It's Monday, the 2nd of October. It's the first part of the fourth quarter. And before we talk a little bit more about what's going on now and in the future, I just want to take this moment and say congratulations to Tesla for producing 430,000 vehicles and delivering 435,000 vehicles in the third quarter, despite a lot of difficult challenges, particularly with launching the new Model 3. There's also a Model Y refresh over in China that just got announced, and also this factory here with the tremendous amount of upgrades that have been going on for the last several months and do continue now, but balancing all of that and still achieving that amount of production and deliveries is really amazing. So congratulations to Tesla and all the employees that made that happen. Now for today, we do a wide-ranging flight, and I show you quite a bit of very interesting things today. First off, I think everybody's questions is what's going on with production? And production is going on. They're actually moved vehicles over onto the outbound lot and trucks are picking them up. And we can also see by this image, the testing and calibration lot is starting to empty out to some degree as more of those vehicles leave the site. Also with this image, we can see that there are now 6 Cybertrucks over in the outbound lot, and hopefully we'll start seeing a lot more of them now the rest of this week. A few other things that I do want to talk about of interest is starting on the south side. As you can tell by this image, they've actually put up some temporary roads, some paved roads along the south end. And I think this is probably to help with construction and keep the mud down since we're starting to enter into the rainy season. But it'll be something to continue to watch to see. It was slightly unexpected, but we've seen this before on several other parts of Giga Texas. Speaking of unexpected, here on the very, very far north of the facility, we take a look at the old farmhouse. Now in my previous video, I mentioned a lot of the activity that was going up there, plus a land status determination that was completed. And I mentioned that the old farmhouse had been discussed as being a security outpost. But as you can see by this image, it's no longer the case. It has been demolished. So things are changing up in that north end to some degree, and again, that's not unexpected here at Giga Texas. A couple other things of interest is one on the east side, that multi-level parking garage. We see a lot more of the GeoPiers, and we see geotextile membranes being spread around that area. So another great indication of how we've moved into the next phase of construction there. And possibly the most interesting thing besides production that I want to show you is with this image here. Now this is over at the crash testing facility, and I got a chance to look inside the north end. This is a definitely crash test Cybertruck, and you can see the deformation in the front. You can see the airbags have been deployed. You can see some of the damage along the driver's side of the vehicle as well. So this is, as far as I know, the first confirmed Cybertruck crash testing here at Giga Texas. There's a lot more to talk about throughout the video, so I'll end the intro here and we'll get into that, and we'll see a lot more that's going on today. As always, thank you very much for watching. I do appreciate it. Have a great day. Now let's fly around the site.
If you would like to support my efforts, please consider using these links, which will be in the video description. If you are interested in Tesla products, you can help yourself and support me by using my referral code. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons on my YouTube video, as this helps as well. Thank you. My drones are ready and raring to go. Let's go flying over Giga Texas. this first day of the fourth quarter, we'll start on the west side of the highway. Wanted to show you the continued grade work here. It's very close to the north end of the west warehouse on wheels. Also, this east side is getting more and more of that grade work completed, along with more of the stormwater pipe and some of the curbs and some of the other water management along this road that you see on the left-hand side. The new outbound lot is getting more trench work down the middle. Looks like there's the smaller steel corrugated pipe being installed on this particular trench. That's part of that water management system. Also, you can tell that some of the materials have been moved in for this structure, the steel, and then there's a lot of other concrete materials and some container trucks as well. On the south end, we see the yellow moisture barrier, and rebar is being installed on this last major section of the slab on the south end. Once this is complete, the entire slab will be done for this structure, and then they will continue adding that steel towards the south to fill in the rest of the structure. Just because they're waiting for that doesn't mean that there's no progress here. The steel has been painted. They have all of the beams for the roof on. They have the roof material, and they're doing some other installation on the roof as well. As I go around this light pole, we can see what looks to be a very large section of the wall being prepared, most likely for a garage door, and also some trenching near that opening as well. This is also a good view of the roof and how the insulation material and the actual decking itself is being installed. Some of the workers on the left are rolling out some of that white insulation that will be placed on top of the blue liner, and then they'll put that steel decking on top, as we can see on this side of the structure. So right now they're about not quite 25% of the roof completed, working from the north to the south. The horizontal drilling operation continues here. There's still some speculation that a second bore may be drilled. So I'm kind of watching that right now. You can see the drill at the middle of the screen, and then also that long HDPE pipe on the right-hand side of the screen. Resume the flight on the east side of the highway, looking across to where we just were on that west side near that end-of-line facility. As I turn back towards the building, I want to show you where that horizontal drilling is exiting. This goes underneath that highway that you can see that's very busy, and this is a good look at that borehole. Most of the water has been drained out. There is still a little left, and there's some speculation again we're going to see another borehole, or at least a enlarged one, through that section. What I'm trying to show you here is some interesting changes with this temporary end-of-line location. Now, this is where the vehicles would be exiting on that black ramp out of the building, and then they would collect them and move them to the east side. It doesn't look like this is being used anymore, at least not right now. So it's possible that they've done another internal change and the end-of-line routing is in a different part of the building. The main entrance is looking pretty much as it has, no real changes. What has changed is much of the materials on this side of the west part of the General Assembly have been moved inside and assembled. There's just this one location that we're flying over now with some materials. There's a few other parts of the red and white painted platforms on the left here, and it looks like a bunch of wiring perhaps is on the bottom near the ramp going inside. We can see some of the white painted columns and some HVAC ducting. And then here we see some more deliveries going to this third floor platform. This one large delivery here looks like some frames for equipment. And then these two trucks have more items, and they're also listed with CT Zone X. So this is more materials that are part of the Cybertruck production line that is continuing to be installed in all four of the floors and mezzanines on this part of General Assembly. We can tell that the CFA drill has been moved much closer to the wall here, and some other excavation work near where this underground wall is. Now that CFA crane will be moved over to where the opening is on the left, where the platform used to be. So we can see that the lower platform has now been removed. As we pull away, we can get a good sense of the south end, especially on the west side where most of the CFA drilling and pile drilling is underway. but also we get a good sense of the entire south end. And one of the things that has changed in the last 48 hours has been the addition of some of the paved roads. You can see them just to the north of the Cyber Pond. Two roads look like they're moving towards the main factory, and then there's another road at the south end of the factory. And we can see some preparation work where more of that pavement is going to be put around this entire south end. Now, I think that what we're seeing is possibly temporary roads. We've seen this at various parts of Giga Texas on various of the construction projects where they'll put this paving down. It's usually used to help mitigate a lot of mud, and we are entering into the raining season, so that's possibly part of it. It'll be something to monitor and see how this changes as more construction begins. But again, I do think that these are most likely temporary roads for the reason I just stated. You can see that there's some concrete trucks pulling up to where that CFA drill is located as they continue to prepare more of those pile drillings near that southwest corner. And as I pull away, this is a good view of how these temporary paved roads look right now on the south end. Also, we see more of those cylindrical rebar cages for the piles waiting for installation with a lot more rebar. So at least several more dozen of those are yet to be installed. As I move towards the east along this side, I wanted to give you an idea of how more of this paved location appears right now, and also how the south stamping 2 extension wall is nearing completing with that yellow material. You see 4 of those green man lifts really working hard today to get this completed. And as we wrap around, we can see that that yellow continues all the way around over towards the concrete walls, and also some of those receiving doors that are on either side of that projection away from the main building. The blue panels, again, are where the windows used to be. We can see more of this paving that comes this direction and kind of wraps around where these tanks and other materials are located. And also we can get a good sense of the activity and materials on the east side of stamping 2. As I cross up over the power lines, I'll turn back towards the south end just to give you a good bird's eye view of how this is looking with those paved roads right now through this entire section. And I do believe that this is an indication that we're going to be starting to see more construction work on this side of the facility soon. As I pull away, I'll fly over this green belt and this pond. I want to give you a good sense of the east multi-level parking garage construction site and how it looks today. One of the biggest thing that we see is gravel being applied around the perimeter of that large rectangular section, geotextile membranes being rolled out, and GeoPier work being done in the middle of that section. And we'll come back here shortly for a lower altitude view, but I want to just give you a good sense here of how the north side of this clearing is continuing to progress as well. We can see there's a road and the beginnings of medians closer to the greenbelt and coming over to eventually connect to this road near where the bend is. And then we also see how the underground manifold system of the concrete pipes looks and the dirt and gravel mix that's been put around this particular area. Now at this lower altitude, we'll fly back over and I want to give you just a closer view of that work that's going on, where that multi-level parking garage will be constructed, how that gravel looks, and a much closer and a better view of the geotextile membranes. You can see the crews rolling them out. They're putting it on top of the gravel mix, and then they will be filling dirt on top of that again. This material helps to strengthen and stabilize the soil, also allows water to flow through it. So it really helps prepare this site for construction. On the left-hand side of the screen, you can see the GeoPiers that are in operation. And I'm going to come in closer and give you a good zoomed-in view. You see all those small little flags? Those are locations of where the GeoPiers will be done. And as I give you this zoom in, this is a really good view of how this operates. You have the 2 smaller drills, and they drill the basic pole holes and the bores. And then you have the larger impactor on the right, and then this small Bobcat brings the gravel mix over, puts it down into the bore, and then that impactor crushes it and it makes the actual pier. And that's where the term GeoPier comes from, by using this type of material. So they're still making progress, but there are a lot more of those piers to be made. The testing and calibration lot is very busy again today, although we see less vehicles, and that's actually a good sign because they're being moved over to the outbound lot for transportation. I know some people ask why these have dust on them. The main reason is that this is still a construction site and there's a lot of dust here at Giga Texas. So it's not surprising to see dust on vehicles that sit idle for a couple of days here. Now the outbound lot, as you can tell, is much busier than we've seen in the last several weeks. There's actually Model Ys lined up for transportation. Some of the trucks have been put into operation. I actually saw several of them leaving the site with Model Ys today. Also, just zooming in here, is a very interesting delivery on this truck. It looks like a large steel item. I'm not sure exactly where that's going, but I thought zooming in would be great. Now, here we also see in the outbound lot now 6 of the Cybertrucks, and these should be the Master Candidates Series 8 Cybertrucks, which means that they are as close to actual customer delivery vehicles. If not, they are customer delivery vehicles right now. And you can see the employee doing some work. Fortunately, we got a chance to see some of the car cover picked up and verify that, yes, these are Cybertrucks. But I'll continue to do a 360-degree tour around just so you can get a sense of these Cybertrucks and what they look like. Right now, I'm hoping to see many more of these in the next couple of days, and I would like to see this entire lot fill out. Now, the fact that Cybertrucks tend to be on this side of the outbound lot suggests that maybe this is where we're going to see all of the Cybertrucks lined up, separate from the Model Ys, and that may make sense just for transportation purposes. But anyway, there's the status of the outbound lot. I think that's a great sign as production has resumed and now vehicles are starting to leave the site. I also wanted to show you this north side of the east parking lot. My previous video, I showed you that they were spraying some mixture onto that parking lot. It looks like they resealed it and then they just relined the parking lot markers. The overflow lot here is starting to fill up. Crews will start arriving a little later, just after I pass through this area for their next shift. And then now, as we approach the battery cathode plant on the right and the die shop on the left, I'll bring the drone down and we'll fly through the alleyway. And there's a few things I want to show you. On the left-hand side, you can see there's a semi-truck bringing in some big deliveries into that door, and that gives you a good idea of scale of that particular door as well. The nitrogen tanks and vaporizer system on the right-hand side of the screen, and on the left we can see what looks to be like almost like an underground conduit vault for possibly pipes and electrical coming across this section, and I think it will eventually connect in here near where this stainless steel tank, and then that will be the level of the ground, and then that will be a drive over once that is completed. Fly up to the north of this west side of the cathode facility site, and as I fly over the north end of the building, I'll give you a good view here of some of the trench work, trench boxes, and preparation for the lift station that continues on this part of the site. That lift station will be in that area where those rectangular and circular concrete vaults and pipes are located. And some more trenching on the left-hand side of the screen. And you can tell there's a lot less of the steel corrugated pipes waiting for installation now. On the west side of the die shop, a few more items of change that I want to point out. One, they've been finishing up a lot of the trench work with the underground steel corrugated pipe here in this section. You can see some of the pipe ends sticking up out of the ground. That's where the manhole covers will be, and then more trenching on the right-hand side. On the left, we can see that this entire side has had the glass installed, and all of the racks on the ground are now empty. And they're actually wrapping around to start on the south end, which we'll see here momentarily. On the ground here, more of the vaults are being worked on. This is where some of the conduit and also some of the water piping has come through this particular area. And as I mentioned, you can tell that there's more glass on the racks on the ground here, and crews are preparing to install the glass windows on this side of the building. The only thing that remains is this small southeast corner, which will be the main entrance, and hopefully we'll start seeing that soon. On the south end of the battery cathode plant, it looks like there's a crane getting ready to possibly prepare for either more equipment being moved inside or maybe at some point wall panels, but you can get a good sense of those pneumatic blenders inside and the work that's going on this side of the building. As I panel along the east side with the zoom, this gives you a good look at some of the materials here and the work that's going on in this very large opening on the left. And then this opening here in the middle, the platform's been removed. It looks like they have installed some of these Donaldson turret items, and I haven't researched them yet, but if you happen to know what they are, let me know in the comment section. I appreciate that, and I'll mention it in the next video. But as I pull away, I want to show you some of the changes and a big development that's going on here at the crash test facility. We're right now on the south end. It looks like the crews are doing some work on the crash wall, and that's probably because they just finished up a crash testing of a Cybertruck. And this gives you a good view of how this south end looks right after a crash testing has taken place. And then we're going to work our way up to the north, and I'll show you the results of that crash testing. The one lone Cybertruck on the east side is just remaining, still covered, waiting for its eventual fate. And here on the north end, I'll reposition the drone to take a look into the open north end of the structure. The brown rotisserie has been reassembled, and inside next to that red vehicle lift is a Cybertruck that has just had crash testing completed. And I'll zoom in to try to give you a good view. What you can tell is that the front end has been crunched. We can see some of the crunch work on the driver's side as well. And it looks like airbags have been deployed, and the window is actually broken. It looks like it's maybe a partially offset impact. As you can see, a lot of damage on that left front corner of the Cybertruck. But as far as I'm concerned, or as far as I know, this is the first verified Cybertruck crash testing that has been undertaken at this particular crash test facility. So another big milestone here at Giga Texas today. See those two car covers? The smaller one is the first crash test vehicle, which was a Model Y, and we saw that on my video on the 27th of September. So what I want to do now is bring the drone up to a higher altitude. I want to fly along this new clearing northeast of the battery cathode plant, and I want to give you a quick tour of the north end because there are several significant changes that are starting to happen. Now, we've talked about this in my previous video about some of the plans for the north end and the land suitability determination that the city of Austin did, which will allow for utilities to be installed in this great area that you see with all of this green and the fields as far to the north as we can go on Tesla's property. Now, some of the things that are changed is you can tell that there's this sort of a tramp down road. There was a dump truck bringing dirt up to the north. You can see how it is being arranged along this tree line. And it looks like they're just continuing to prepare a lot of dirt in this particular area for potentially future construction. As we pass over this tree belt, we are still on Tesla's property. Underneath the drone in this general area, we saw with the maps that were part of that land suitability determination that there's actually a small cemetery here, which I think will eventually have to be relocated or worked around. And then also the old farmhouse has now been demolished. And we talked in my previous video that this might have been set aside for a security outpost. Well, that has obviously changed. And all of the structures have been demolished. Some of the foundations still remain, and it looks like those are starting to be broken up as well. And then all of this debris will be removed. And this is actually the house that was part of the landowner for this entire area before Tesla came along and purchased it. But looks like this house is definitely no more. This is a good view looking back towards the main factory to get an idea of just how far north we are at this point in the site. As we get ready to fly over this large field, a couple of things that I just want to point out. One, on the left, all of this material that's continued to be stockpiled up here. This is all material that is part of assembly lines, and it all is just waiting for its time to be moved into whatever portion of the factory will be available and needing this when that time is ready. This field itself has had soil test sampling done throughout its entire length, so that'll be something to watch for construction. And then right now they're using it for a lot of debris, a lot of tree debris and vegetation until they can mulch it all right now. So that's pretty much a good look at the far north and the development with the old farmhouse being demolished. As we fly along this entire green belt section, we're approaching back to the north part of the new electrical switchyard, and this gives a good view on these trailers, these very large spools of cabling, and just looking at the size of that, it's just amazing how big the cabling or the wires that will be moved through the conduit that will allow for the electricity to flow to and from the switchyard and the Megapack site. The south end of the switchyard looks like that underground vault and those two trailers that are part of control rooms. And also some of the wiring is all getting ready to be finished up here, and hopefully being able to get that second main transformer wired up and operational to power the factory. As I come over the power lines and come back down, I want to show you the Megapack site and its progress. The new control room looks like most, if not all, of the wiring has now been completed on that south end with those 4 small boxes by the tent. The entire steel structure looks like it's completed. All of the connections are done. The cable tray itself is completed as well with the top cover. And then on the north end, they're finishing up some of the dirt fill in over where the large conduits go to the north to the electrical switchyard. Here's a good view of the Megapack site itself, the perimeter fence. All of the lighting now has been installed, well, at least all the poles, and then the workshop here just to the north of Tesla Road. So let's continue to progress straight ahead and take a look at some of the developments on the east side of the casting machine structure. The first thing that comes to view is the installation of these vents where the windows used to be. And as mentioned, this is important because they're installing the large furnaces just inside this area that will melt down excess and scrap aluminum to be reused. And all of these windows here may be repurposed for other parts of the factory at some point. But this is a relatively late change after the entire casting machine structure was built. Now on the roof here, we see some of the steel vent bases closest to the bottom of the view, and then all of the ducted fans. This is all part of that large ventilation system and why they have those grates on that east side instead of the windows. Here on the north end of the paint shop, we see a delivery of some of these car rail systems that are used to transport bodies, and also 5 of those Model Ys body in whites, and it looks like they may be doing some color testing as well. My previous video, we saw 6 more of them out near where the cab of this truck is located, and we can see more of those body frames being delivered here today as well. The last major part that I want to talk about for this video is this northwest corner. This is the 4680 battery cell production section, and as we've been talking about a long time, inside this area, and you can see where the windows have been removed just on the left-hand side and the right-hand side. They're doing some major construction, and all of those steel beams are being installed inside to reconfigure and add production capability for 4680s within this portion of the factory. So this will bring to a close the first workday of the 4th quarter, the 2nd of October here at Giga Texas. And again, congratulations to Tesla for an outstanding 3rd quarter, especially given all of the constraints that they faced. As always, thank you very much for watching. I do very much appreciate it. I hope you have a great rest of the week. Take care.